This video is going to cover sections 6.2 and 6.3. The book breaks it up into two parts, but the method I'm going to show you makes it so you can do it with anything. We're going to start by factoring trinomials. So trinomial has three terms, and when we factor it, we're breaking it into two binomials. It's reversing FOIL. We're going to review FOIL to make sure you remember. The F stands for first. When you're multiplying two binomials, you multiply the first term in each and get that. The I stands for outside. So multiply the terms on the outside of the binomials, paying attention to your signs. The I stands for inside. So we multiply the terms on the inside. And L stands for last. So multiply the terms, again, paying attention to the signs, and you get last. Then we're going to combine like terms if we can. And we get a trinomial. So using that, practice FOIL on these three. Pause the video, watch another one, whatever you need to make sure you understand how this works. First times first, outside times outside, inside times inside, last times last. Combine like terms. First times first, outside times outside, inside times inside, last times last, combine like terms. And the last one, first times first, outside times outside. I switched my colors, but inside times inside, last times last, combine like terms, and you have your trinomial. Factoring undoes this process. It takes the trinomial and turns it back into the two binomials. So you may know another method and feel free to use that one. I'm going to show you what I call a tic-tac-toe method. The first step is to take out the greatest common factor. All of those terms are divisible by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Now we're going to set up our tic-tac-toe board. With quadratics, so anything that has the highest exponent of 2, A is always with the x squared, B is always with the x, C is alone. When we set up our board, across the top we put A, so in this case it's 3. Then we put B, in this case it's -7. And then in the top right we do A times C. So 3 times -6 is -18. Then we find the factors of A times C that add up to get B. So the factors of -18 are -1 and 18, or 1 and -18. -2 and 9, or 2 and -9. -3 and 6, or 3 and -6. All of those pairs will multiply together to get us -16. Only this pair will add to get -7. So I'm going to write those there. Does not matter if you put the 2 on top or the 9 on top. Next step is to find the greatest common factor of the corners. So the factors of 3 are 1 and 3. The factors of 9 are 1, 3, and 9. The greatest common factor is 3. Now we're going to multiply up. So I'm going to say 3 times what equals 3 and put a 1. Then I'm going to go across. 1 times what equals 2. I need a 2. 3 times what equals -9. I need a -3. Last step is to circle and write. So when we circle these, the column on the left is always the x. The column on the right is the number. So that one would be x minus 3, since the 3 is negative. This one would be 3x plus 2. Now I have my two binomials. So I'm going to do some. At any point that you feel like you want to try them, go ahead and pause the video, try a couple and check them out. If you get confused with the negative signs, watch me do that one and see how it goes. All right. This first one, greatest common factor, there is not one, so we can skip that step. Second, set up our tic-tac-toe board. A times C. Factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4. The 3 and 4 add up to 7. Factors of 1 are 1 and 1. Factors of 4 are 1, 2, and 4. Greatest common factor is 1. Multiply up. 1 times 1 equals 1. 1 times 3 equals 3. 1 times 4 equals 4. That is x plus 4. That is x plus 3. To show you that the order doesn't matter where you put those, if I were to switch the 4 and the 3, my greatest common factor would still be 1. When I multiply up, I'd still get 1. And when I go across, I'd still get the 4 and 3. The only difference is the 3 and the 4 have switched places. Order doesn't matter when you multiply. These are the same answers. That's why it doesn't matter. Let's try another one. There's no greatest common factor. A is 1 if there's nothing in front. B is 9. A times C is 20. Factors of 20 are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. We have a pair that adds up to 9. Greatest common factor of 1 and 5 is 1. Multiply up. Multiply across. Circle and right. So we have x plus 5, x plus 4. If you ever want to check, you can just FOIL out your two binomials, and it should come out to your original answer. Let's try another one here. There's no greatest common factor. So we tic-tac-toe. A times C. Factors of 18 are 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. None of those add up to negative 9. How else can we get positive numbers? Well, if I do negative 1 times negative 18, I get a positive 18. Negative 2 times negative 9, and negative 3 times negative 6. Now, those multiply to get 18 and add to get negative 9. Rest of the steps are the same. Greatest common factor of 1 and 6. Multiply up, multiply across, circle and right. So x minus 6 and x minus 3. The next one we're going to look at has two negative signs. The process doesn't change. Still have our greatest common factor. A times C. Factors of 4, negative 4, could be 1 and 4, 1 and negative 4, or 2 and negative 2. The pair that adds up to negative 3 is 1 and negative 4. Greatest common factor, multiply up, multiply across, circle and right. So we have x minus 4, and we have x plus 1. It's all about just paying attention to those signs and remembering. You don't have to list all the factors out, but if you're getting confused or you can't find some, it helps you try to check and see if you got them all. Let's try this one. There's no greatest common factor. A times C. Factors of negative 4 are negative 1 and 4, 1 are negative 4, and 2 and negative 2. None of those add up. None of those make 5. So this we would say is not factorable or prime. Just like prime numbers only have factors of 1 in themselves, prime trinomials can't be factored using tic-tac-toe, so sometimes not factorable is an appropriate answer. Now that you've seen all the steps, see if you can try this next one. Pause the video and check it out. All right, greatest common factor. They're all divisible by 2, and they all have at least an x squared. 2 divided by 2 is 1. X to the 4th divided by x squared is x squared. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. X cubed divided by x squared gives us x. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. And x squared divided by x squared is 1. So there's our greatest common factor. Then we do with our new numbers, A times C. Factors of 3 would be negative 3 times 1. If we add those together, we get negative 2. Greatest common factor of the corners. Multiply up, multiply across, and then we circle and right. So that's x plus 1. That's x minus 3. And we're just going to bring down our greatest common factor in front. Now we have our factored form. All right, let's look at this one. Let's say you don't see the greatest common factor. Somehow you didn't know those were all divisible by 7, or you didn't notice. This will still work. A, B, and then 7 times 42 is 294. So now we find the factors of 294. 1 and 294, 2 and 147, 3 and 98, 6 and 49, 7 and 42, 14 and 21. There might be more, but I'm going to stop there because I know those add up to 35. Greatest common factor, multiply up, multiply across, circle and right. And we get this. Now, if you stopped here, you would lose a point because this term right here still is the greatest common factor. So if I were to take that out, I'd be left with this. Then just put them in a pretty order. So I'm going to put the greatest common factor first, bring both parentheses down, and now I have my answer. If I did notice the greatest common factor, and I started with that, I would have taken out 7 and then tic-tac-toed these smaller numbers, which would be 2 and 3. We'd get x plus 3, x plus 2. Bring down the 7. So you get the same answer. If you can read it, you get the same answer. The biggest difference is you work with much smaller numbers if you take your greatest common factor out first, and you don't have to double check at the end. But as long as you always double check, it's okay if you miss the greatest common factor. Here are 5 more. The only difference is these have numbers for A instead of 1, but you follow the same exact steps. Pause the video, try them, check in when you're done, or as you go, it's up to you. This first one has no greatest common factor. If we tic-tac-toe, A, B, A times C. Factors of 4 would be 1 and 4. Greatest common factor of 2 and 4 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. Circle and right, we'd have x plus 2 and 2x plus 1. Let's do the next one. There's no greatest common factor. Tic-tac-toe, A, B, A times C. Factors of 30 are going to be negative 5 and negative 6. Greatest common factor of 10 and 6 is 3. Nope, it's 2. Multiply up. 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. I'm going to give you a hint. If at any point you can't complete that multiplication in the bottom 4 right here, you probably picked the wrong greatest common factor. So check that out. That usually will solve your issue. Now we circle 5x minus 3, 2x minus 1. All right, next one, there's no greatest common factor. A, B, A times C. To get this, we would do either negative 1 and 6, 1 and negative 6, negative 2 and 3, 2 and negative 3. None of those work, so this is prime. All right, 2 left. Greatest common factor of this one is 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 50 divided by 5 is 10. 40 divided by 5 is 8. Tic-tac-toe. A, B, A times C. Factors of negative 24 would be negative 12 and 2. This is where writing them out might help, because when you get to, you might right away go, oh, 6 and 4 make 10, but the only way to get that is if you have one negative and one positive, so those won't make 10. That's why sometimes listing these out will help. Greatest common factor is 1. Multiply up, multiply across, circle your answer. So we have 3x plus 2, x minus 4, bring down our greatest common factor. All right, what's different about this last one? Well, it starts with a negative. Now, you can tic-tac-toe it with the negative there, but then you're paying attention to negative signs through the whole thing. So instead, I take out a greatest common factor of -1, and that just changes the sign of everything. So this becomes positive, B becomes negative, C becomes positive. Now I tic-tac-toe with what I'm used to. A, B, A times C. This would be -15 and -2. Greatest common factor is 2. Multiply up, multiply across, circle and right. 3x minus 1, 2x minus 5. Bring down the -1. If you did it without taking out the -1, you might have gotten something like -3x plus 1 and 2x minus 5. You might have gotten 3x minus 1 and -2x plus 5. Those are all acceptable answers. They all mean the same thing. So that is the 6-2 and 6-3. Let me know if you have any questions.